The episode picks up where the previous left off with them talking about what happened with Agrigor. Ben then gets a call from Asmith and he'd said that Agrigor managed to get 2 of the 3 pieces, but they'd stopped him once thankfully. Asmith says that he's sending them to the final location of the piece now, and they are all teleported just outside of a giant cube made up of smaller cubes and get a signal of Agrigor incoming. They follow the tyrant and the perplexahedron did blast him at first, but when it scanned 2 parts of the map, it opened up for him, allowing Agrigor inside, though it closed before they could follow. Ben goes out in a suit and shows his piece of the map, and it opens up again, allowing them to go on inside. Ben lets Ship shrink down to his normal size and rest in a backpack as he begins to walk through a door with Kevin and Gwen following him. He then turned and began to go through a different path, and they asked where he's going, and Ben says it's like the piece knows where to find the remaining shard. This allowed them to avoid traps and the like, at least at first, as they made their way through the place. Soon they found themselves up against various obstacles, even with the map piece guiding the way, and a wind tunnel had separated the 3 of them. Gwen went through one door and Ben and Kevin ended up flying through another. While the guys had to deal with a room filled with water and then acid, Gwen had to deal with lasers, a door changing into a humanoid robot attacking her, and then worse, Agrigor. She tried to stop him, but he blasted her with water in a room filled with a blizzard, which caused her to freeze in place as he continued onward, though he didn't seem as strong as he was previously. We then see flaming hands thaw out Gwen as Ben changed back to human once she was out of the ice, asking if she was alright, and she hugged him, glad to see them again, and kisses Ben, which Kevin suggests they get a room since this place is full of them, as they continued walking. Gwen asked how they found her, and Ben says that he tried to track her badge, and when that didn't work, he tried using the map piece instead, and it worked. Gwen says she found Agrigor by blind luck, but finding him again might be impossible with him also having 2 pieces, though Ben says he's got an idea. If the place lets you go wherever you want, then why have guards? Kevin then hits himself in the forehead and says the guards lead the right path to the last piece. They began traveling that way, only following down rooms that have guards and not bothering with any other route, and it seemed to be working. Thankfully, they continued onwards until they reached a room where an alien was sitting on a throne and greeting them, explaining that they were the sentinel guarding the final piece of the map. They give him the final piece and the place starts to come apart as the sentinel says that the place has served its purpose and that they should go now, though Ben says they aren't leaving the sentinel behind. He'll drag him kicking and screaming if he has to, and hits the Ultimatrix, changing into 4 arms, grabbing the sentinel as they began to run. Kevin asked how they're supposed to find a way out, and 4 Arms says that the 2 pieces of the maps are sort of telling him where to go, like when the one piece told them how to find the other. We then see Agrigor standing in front of an empty throne, growling in anger, before slamming his fist down onto the seat, smashing it before holding up his pieces. The tyrant tells them to show him the way to the other piece that was here, and then proceeds to run off towards where Ben and his group were going in anger, trying to catch up with them. As we then cut back to the group getting closer to the hangar, only to be blasted in the back by electricity, making Ben drop both the sentinel and the map pieces. Agrigor took note of that, picking up the 2 pieces, saying that it seems like they were holding out on him, as he connected the 4 pieces together with a twisted sort of smile and said that now ultimate power would be his for the taking, though Ben slams his fist into him so hard that Agrigor bounced before throwing him into a wall through the rubble, making them drop the key. The villain then dashed to grab it again, but Gwen threw an energy barrier around it, pulling it towards her. As Agrigor charged up his radiation blast to fire at Gwen, she moved so that it would fly towards Kevin, as Kevin calls out "hot potato" and grabs the infomap, then runs with it behind some rubble, passing it to the sentinel, telling them to hold on to it while they fight. 4 Arms slams Agrigor in the face, busting out a tooth and making his mouth bleed at the same time, as Kevin launched himself off of some of the rubble, punching them in the nose, knocking them back, and Gwen used her magic to trip them and make them fall over, with Ben then proceeding to grab their arms with his and beating him in the face repeatedly with his extra fists. Agrigor charged up an electric blast and shot Ben away from him, them as he'd looked a lot worse for wear than any previous fight and tried to make a break for the Sentinel, but the entire Perpexahedron came down around them, and Ben called out the ship, who'd changed in their spacecraft form, scooping them up as they'd found the Sentinel, and Gwen grabbed them using her magic barrier to pull them in, also doing the same for the map that was floating away. Seizing the moment, the villain then smashed her energy barrier and grabbed the complete map, flying away. The Sentinel says that they'd put up a valiant fight, but in the end they'd failed their mission to protect the map, and all was lost as they faded away from existence. Ben tells the others that they were going to stop Aggregor and finish the mission to honor the Sentinel's sacrifice.